Welcome back to Round Recap, where we recap the latest round in rugby league. Damn, did we have an exciting, action-packed round of football. Okay, we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of good games, a lot of big moments, but, you know, all that aside, we're going to jump right in. We're going to get right into the nitty-gritty. We're going to get right into the weeds, all right? Raiders versus Sharks on the Thursday night. Before I even get too far ahead of myself, this was one of my favourite games of the round, okay? It was footy at its finest. Both teams wanted it. Both teams didn't want to quit. And it was tight. You know, I like a defensive game of rugby league. I like the games where the try scorers aren't just the wingers 6 times, all right? That is my type of footy. I like a back and forth. And this had it all, you know. It had the big boys scoring up front. It had, you know, a couple of little guys getting them in the edges. I liked it, okay? I don't have much else to say, but I liked it, all right? And it had one of the greatest finishes to a game of football I've seen in a long time. You know, Canberra Raiders. You thought it was over. Minute 30 to go. The commentators, 4 tackles left, halfway. Do they have what it takes? Have they lost? And then you just start seeing risky balls, just 20-metre pills getting chucked across field, and it was just like scrams and scurries, offloads, flick passes, boom. Before you know it, Sebi Chris puts it down. Raiders win in the last minute. Cinema. It's fucking cinema, okay? And just the fact that here's the shocking part of it all, right? Sebi Chris, I'm fairly certain he plays on the left wing. He follows this ball, all right? He's running past, you know, dejected challengers. He's running past Cronulla players. Even Canberra players, hands on the hips. You know, they think the game's over. It's dead. The play's gone dead. He follows that ball across all the way from his left centre position all the way to the right wing and scores. That's dog. That's heart, and that's not wanting to say die, and that's wanting to win a game for your team. So this was a really good game, man. Up next, Penrith versus Cowboys. I don't want to dwell on this one for too long, okay? Cowboys get it done against Penrith, but this is not what I wanted, okay? I didn't want Penrith to keep losing to these teams. I wanted it to be a select few that beat Penrith. The cool kids club, if you will. You know, a few people beat them, you know. Rabbitohs, Roosters, Storm, you know, the cool kids club. All the cool kids get to beat Penrith. But now we're letting Cowboys beat Penrith? Come on, bro. That's not cool. No, all jokes aside, Penrith are seriously in a bit of a rough spot. I think they're sort of... They could possibly be in their own heads that they're losing now. They could definitely be in their own heads that, hey, we're starting to lose. And, yeah, maybe they just don't have that heart in them to try and get out of that rut. I don't know. Because, you know, they had Cleary. Yeah, they're still missing Edwards, but, you know, you had that $1 million man. He's out there playing 80 minutes of rugby league and he's not getting injured and he's taking big hits. And, you know, not even that could fire the boys up to, you know, cut back on the errors, and it was, I don't know, it was a close game of rugby league. It was a good game of rugby league to watch, but hard nonetheless. It's we just seem to be letting everyone beat Penrith, and I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I'm not going to dive too deep into it because it was shocking the first couple of weeks, and you know you had to kind of sit there and talk about the fact that Penrith are losing, but it's kind of just it keeps happening now. So. I mean, it's another game of rugby league. So, yeah, Penrith lose again. Rabbitohs versus Roosters. The boys from Bondi up against the boys. Okay, 2014, a Sydney Derby. This is one of my favourite games of rugby league to get pumped up for. I always just get G'd up, have a few beers, sit back, and just let this one play out because it's always such a great game of footy. It's history. It's NRL history. These two have the greatest rivalry in the sport. All right, so it was seriously such a good game. Okay, yeah, we lost 3 troops. We lost Humphreys in the first minutes. We lose Cody around half time, and then we lose Ravarawa in second half. It's brutal. It's brutality. Okay, all hamstrings. There was someone out there with a sniper taking out hamstrings. You know, Humphreys is out. 4 to 5 weeks. Cody's out 2 to 3 weeks or 3 to 4. and then Ravailla's out 6-8. So big time out. We're heading into the dark ages. We could be heading into the dark ages. Our next few games might get a little bit daunting. All right, we got Cowboys who, if the team list isn't looking that great, we might have a hard time with Cowboys because they're on a bit of a roll. And then then it's Melbourne Storm and it's Bulldogs and it's Broncos. Like, we could be heading into the dark ages if we don't play our cards right. Yeah, we got Latrell back, but at what cost? So yeah, great game. Loved this game. Not much else to say. Parramatta Eels versus St. George Dragons for a 2 p.m. game on a Saturday. This was cinema rugby league. Parramatta pick up their first win for the season. Okay, a gritty, tough game of rugby league. Either side could have won. There was so much tension built up in this game. There was little biffs blowing up everywhere. There were fans fighting in the stands. It was wild. Okay, it was rugby league cinema. I was sitting there on the edge of my seat the whole game. Okay, I love this. This was honestly a great game to watch, and it's up there for games of the week. Yeah, Parramatta Eels went out there, finally got a win. Everyone's got a win eventually. And what I predicted last week is, Dragons may have hit their ceiling with a win against Melbourne. Not saying they're not going to ever win again, but they hit their ceiling and then they had to drop back down to earth. And when they hit the ground, they were a little dazed and confused, and Parramatta jumped on them. So, yeah, the Eels, great game of footy. Guffo even had it. Guffo played a good game, so yeah. Titans Dolphins. This is a bit of a meh one for me. I really wasn't all that invested in it. Like, I was going in, I was like, this could be good. But Titans just couldn't get it going. It's this thing we talk about with the Titans, is sometimes they'll look like they're going to be a 5-time premiership team, and then next thing we know, they're losing to the Dolphins. A Dolphins side that hadn't got a win yet. It's the inconsistency of the Titans, which is their biggest enemy. And it's like, they've got the stars, they've got the players, but it's just this strange inconsistency that they can never get going. And good win for the Dolphins. The Dolphins went out there and played a good brand of rugby league. Once they got that machine turned on, it was hard for Melbourne Storm to take the keys out of the ignition. Dolphins just really stuck it on them, especially in that second half. Got a little ugly. So yeah, a good day from the Dolphins as well. But yeah, a bit of a meh game. Another meh game, Broncos versus West Tigers. Bit of a drink break, this one, if I'm going to be real. It had that 7 p.m. spot, and it just disappointed, It looked like it was going to be a great game in the first half. It was tight. Tigers were putting on points. Broncos were struggling. And then Broncos just came back and just whacked them. Just jumped out of the bushes and whacked them. Whatever Madge said to him in the sheds must have really got the boys pumped up or scared, because they just came out there and whacked the Tigers. And I don't like games where one team just consistently error after error and the other team just capitalise. I don't like watching that kind of rugby league. It's boring, okay? It's just try-scoring city. Entertaining, don't get me wrong, but not the kind of entertainment I'm looking for. Similar to the Titans-Dolphins game. So, yeah. Close game. Tigers were winning it, but they just fell off the horse, and Broncos smacked them. On to Sunday, 4 Points Park, Manly Seagulls versus the Melbourne Storm. The battle for Brookvale. This was shaping up to be a good game as well in the first half. Melbourne probably pounced on them a bit, and then Manly woke up and just had this immense possession of the ball in that later on in the first half rather. And they just kept Melbourne Storm in their 30 metres. It just didn't even look like Melbourne were going to get the ball back. That's how well Manly were playing. And I thought, shit, I've picked flawlessly here. Because I switched my picks to Manly. And Manly just didn't capitalise on an injured Melbourne Storm in that first half. They didn't put enough points on them when they should have. And then Craig Bellamy woke the boys up in the sheds, and they came out here and they slaughtered Manly in the second half. Once again, another whacking. Another jump out of the bush whacking. 2 back-to-back whackings. So, yeah. Melbourne Storm just once again proved that they are a premiership team. They are going to look to play in a grand final again. And, they're going to, some games they're going to lose to the Dragons. Sometimes they're going to lose to Gutho, a Jubilee. But then sometimes they're going to beat up a star-studded team like Sea Eagles, like Manly. So, last game of the round, Doggies versus Knights. Defensive heavy game in the first half. Both teams didn't want to concede points. It was 2-0 going into the sheds. Probably not even my style of footy. I need to see a couple tries getting put on the boards. Just when it's just tackle set, kick, tackle set, kick, tackle set, kick, and then you sprinkle in the errors in there that both teams were having. Hard to watch. A lot of the time I wasn't. Okay, I was playing a little bit of pool in the background. I was drinking a few beers, chitting and chatting. I wasn't sitting there. I wasn't overly engaged in this game. Okay, and that seems to be a bit of a recurring segment with Bulldogs games this year, is they just don't entertain me. I seriously am just emotionless towards Bulldogs games. I cannot get up behind a Bulldogs game. Maybe if I see Bulldogs in a finals game, in the finals, like maybe I'll get up for a Bulldogs game. But they're just, they're so flat. It's like this. I swear it's just this is their thing every week. But I don't know. Shout out to Doggies, get undefeated still. Shout out to Doggies. They're doing something right. Stephen Crichton, great skipper. And then Warriors get a bye. So yeah, that's it, man. That's it for the round recap. Now we do everyone's favourite segment, game of the week, Fighting Field Insights, game of the round, and then we also do Fighting Field Insights player of the round. So, bit of a spoiler. I've already recorded this video. It messed up. It's stuffed up. So I already have the winner. It's Parramatta Eels versus Dragons. But if you want a little bit of theatrics behind it, it's just this is footy. This is rugby league cinema, as I said it. This is like as bare bones as it gets. It's Parramatta Eels hungry for a win against a dejected Dragons side. I mean, both teams wanted it. It's Gutho versus Parramatta. It's Lomax versus St. George. And it's a golden point game of rugby league, and this is the games of rugby league that are going to get you a Fighting Field Insights game of the round. This is it. So, Parramatta Eels, St. George Dragons get game of the round. Fighting Field Insights game of the round. Player of the round, spoiler alert, we know this one too. But I'll go through, I'll do the deep dive for you. You had Sebi Chris from Canberra. From that game, you also have Joey Tarpany, who actually played a really good statistic game of rugby league, but Sebi Chris had that dog in him. Cowboys did and had the ball on a string. Great kicking game out of Dearden all night. Cleary, someone who stands out for me at Penrith was Cleary. He played good rugby. And I know we all kind of get sick of hearing Cleary this, Cleary that, but he did have a good game. I could always throw Jai Gray in here. He's leading the Dally M's. I could always throw him in here, but I got to say Latrell played outstanding footy. When push comes to shove and when shit hits the fan, Latrell jumps in there. Okay, so Lomax for Parramatta, Gutho for Dragons. I mean, both them two stood out, which is like it's just almost fairy tale stuff. They both former members of either club stand up for the new club. So yeah, I don't really have anyone for this Dolphins-Titans game. It was just bleh. Broncos-Tigers, you could almost point towards Lockie Galvin. He had a really good first half, but he just dropped off in the second. Reece Walsh probably had his first good game of the year. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't length of the field tries and hat tricks and all the theatrics, but he played good rugby league. He played an assistant level rugby league. He's setting up tries and stuff like that. Hughes for the Storm, he played well coming back from injury. He played well, and then I don't really have anyone. Once again, I'm emotionless for the Bulldogs. I cannot get excited for this, but keep all the Doggies fans happy. Let's just say like a Jacob Kiraz or something. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard one. It's a hard one, but you know what it is? It's hard to look past Sebi Chris. It's hard to look past having that dog in you, okay? Chasing that ball from left centre all the way to the right wing, man, okay? It's hard to not get behind a dog. Just doing whatever he can to get his team a win. Yeah! It's Sebi Chris. Sebi Chris is the Fighting Field Insights Player of the Round for Round 5, okay? Because that's what it is, man. Here at Fighting Field Insights, we don't dive into the weeds with the we're scoring off of run meters and your super coach points. We don't care about that, okay? We're looking at dog, we're looking at heart, we're looking at toughness, we're looking at grit, okay? And we're looking at what player stands out as a warrior, who stands out, who they wanted it the most. And for me, it was Sebi Chris. Chased that ball from left centre all the way to the right wing. Fact check me if you will on that, but he's got that dog in him, okay? He's got that dog in him. So yeah. Cut these videos a little bit shorter because round recap's getting a little bit long. I am going to be doing a new segment where I break down each individual game of next week's round, or this week's round rather, round 6. So for example, round 7. But I'll go through and I'll break down who I think is going to win, what the point's going to be, and then I'll put a little multi in there, and then I'll do a little bit of research for you guys. Okay, it's going to be called Punters Playbook. There's going to be MMA and UFC and NRL in the same video, and I'm going to be just putting my bets in, my picks, and you guys, you might get a little bit of an upper hand on the bet slips, but take all that with a grain of salt. Okay. I'll go more in depth with this when we release the first episode of Punters Playbook, but take it with a little bit of grain of salt. I am in a great punting depression, okay? I haven't won a multi all year, so I am in a great punting depression. So yeah, probably not the best person to be taking tips off, but I'm going to do my best to do the research and get you guys the tips and knowledge you need to fill up them sports bet, them Ned's bank accounts. So yeah. But no, that's it. That's it for this week's episode of Round Recap. Really good round of rugby league. Can't fault it at all. So yeah. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Round Recap. Yeah.